this is Nadia's studio, and this is the traveling book which I illustrated. Let's see, it's going over a year now. Might be getting close to 2 years now. And I did it with Chris Bates as the author, and it has been doing really well. And so, what I'm going to be going over now is it's getting a second book. Chris Bates has wrote a second book. The traveling book lands in school. And so we've officially started talking and started doing sketching ideas, and so I am now going to work on the cover. And so to give a little bit of where we've gotten so far, let me bring you down. I do thumbnail sketches, which is just, as you see, rough ideas of composition. We originally thought keeping things similar, library in the middle, kind of front, and originally we're just going to do kind of this simple library, and then we were figuring, well, do we need school in the background? Do we need backpacks and books everywhere to show he's going off to school? And so you can see I tried some different ideas. This composition was starting to look better based on some and then we were getting here, but we did get some feedback. And you see I'm getting a little more detailed as I'm feeling more, better about the idea. That's not it. And then people still thought school wasn't clear enough. So we do try kind of some ideas with the school. And then what we started talking about was a school bus maybe instead of a school. And from there we're like, well, what if we changed up the little library to be, I thought a schoolhouse would be misleading as to he literally goes to kids' schools and goes and visits with students and sees other little libraries, so I didn't want them to misunderstand that the little library was the school. So instead we found a school bus, or we found a couple school buses, and originally we had this blocky school bus which in real life looks really cool, but it was hard to make sure it came through. I was struggling with the composition because of the shape. And then we tried this one, and so this ended up being the winner. You see I tried a few different things, but this one ultimately is kind of the composition we're going to be going with. And I think that's all. Oh, here we go. Oh, this was the one, actually. We do this little swoopy hill. I did try it with this in the back, but it's just too much of a scene opposed to I feel like this is a better cover design. Although I do like it, but again, more for a scene. We might include that inside the book. Now, here is the sketch for the cover. Mostly what I need from this is to get this part that's going to be coming forward, because I'm going to do the hill and the sky separately on a different page because I wanted to flow onto the back cover. And if I had planned a little better, maybe I could have done it smaller and filled up the rest of this page, but it would have to be smaller, and I wanted enough room to work with to get the dimensions and size and details I wanted. So anyway, sketch is done because that is something I have to focus on, I want to work carefully on because it is the foundation, and I didn't want to it's a little harder to do with the camera right in front of my face, so I kind of have to be leaning around. So anyway, sketch is done, and I am now going to start inking it. And so from here we will go on to a time lapse. And so I did do the sketch beforehand, so it was easier without a camera in the way, and I could do some troubleshooting. And I think nevertheless, despite not getting to see my brainstorming phase outside of the sketches I showed you, you do get to see it more clearly with ink, the line art and everything, so I think that works out all right. This will be a bit of a different video than my usual ones because I do show you more of the process than just me doing the painting. I often don't show you how I do the layers or what's on my computer before I actually show you, like with my planners. I just show you how I added the background, the text, and it's already the planner, right? So this one I do show some more detail of the process because I thought the cover in particular, and particularly in the case of a picture book, and when you're collaborating with someone, has a certain process. It's not a one and done deal with like an illustration and you can kind of call it good enough. You do have to do a lot back and forth, a lot of tweaking, because it's really a very important part of the book and you need it to convey something about the story, not give too much of it away, not be too much of a scene, but enough of a design, but still interesting. So there's just so many elements to be pushing and pulling and tweaking to see once you have it right. And so I wanted to show some of that process. So some of it's not the most interesting to look at, unless I'm wrong, for the process, because I do, for the layers, I kind of do a lot of them individually, and some of them are just less interesting, I think. So for this cover, it goes through a lot of revisions, and I'm going to try to kind of talk through it. You won't fully see what was going on because there was just so much back and forth. And again, some of it's just little tweaks. Change the color here, shift the traveling book a little bit here. Can we add a cloud here? You know, some of it's just really small and going over the revisions, and so I wasn't recording all of that. But I do have enough of the elements that I think I can piece it together for you to give an idea. And so an aspect of that, as I mentioned, is right now I'm only painting these elements that are going to be in the foreground. So not the grass and not the sky. And we add text later as well. So, and instead of this all being one piece, so like a layer could be the library, the books, and the traveling book would all be on a layer and they couldn't shift from each other. Well, I can outline, since there's space between them, the traveling book from the library. And that way I can shrink the library, I can enlarge it, I can change the relation between them area-wise on the cover, the traveling book likewise. And I didn't add the little dotted trail. I originally was going to have him like looping out of the library, kind of like the little B dotted line, but due to the composition and kind of the way below was very bland, we kind of fill out the space by having him come up from below the page, if that makes sense. You'll see it later. So yes, so having the elements on separate pieces allows for that. And I sometimes have a struggle with my pride in that I feel like that makes me a bad artist, that I can't illustrate a cover in one go or an illustration in one go. But I have with like Stella's Dream or The Gift of the Gratitude Fairy. I have done them where you couldn't move any of the elements. They were stuck because they were all painted together at once. So, and another element here is I was able to darken the library after I had already uploaded it because I saw it was too light. So I have a saved version where it's lighter, and here where I brightened it up and went in and darkened everything to make it more balanced. And so what I do with these layers is I put them into the computer, and here you see briefly, I sketched out on this paper. I also took a picture of it. It didn't matter that it was dark and everything. I just needed to see if the hill was going to be in the right place, right? And then I did the ink line, which later I also erased that line, just so it's a soft edge. And we also are going to end up, how would you say that? Like deleting the hill, essentially. I actually like shave it down because later we have an element that is going to change out the composition that the hill didn't benefit it anymore. And you see I did, that's a layer where I did the fallish color for grass. I wanted it not to be fully leaves, but just kind of a texture of it. And so here's the element I was mentioning. We got some feedback and really helped the composition because as you saw, some of those, they were looking just a little plain. And this really helped. We put it on, it's going to be kind of on the spine essentially. So it's actually going to be on the back end front cover. And then that's why we shaved down the ground to not be a hill, because it was no longer necessary for the composition. The composition changed. And we also were having trouble with the goes to school section, the text there. So we also add an element which is a little sign which hangs off of the title, the traveling book. So a little wooden sign hangs off of it to put in the little subtitle to give it a little more interest and not to feel like it's just sitting there. Especially when we lost the hill, which originally Goes to School was following the hill in that little slopey curve, which gave it some interest. But once we didn't have the curve, it wasn't working. So that's how we end up pulling these new elements. And once again, you see, I'm just painting the tree here, right? It's not joined with the previous illustration I did, because this is going to be on its own layer, and it's going to be kind of pushed as a back layer, but forward from the ground, if that makes sense. So again, I have pieces and then almost like clip art, if you've ever kind of played with Canva or something like that. It essentially works the same way. I can now move these elements and shape them. And here I am working on that other element, which is the wooden sign. I think it's really cute. It reminds me of Winnie the Pooh, like the little signs, you know, Rabbit's Garden and all that. So I thought that was really cute, and gave it a little different element. And so from here, we still had a lot of struggle. We had a good composition, but the colors were a trial, and I'm going to show you how many, and it's not even all of them, because some of them I just kept tweaking on the same page before duplicating it. We go through so many versions of the cover of playing with colors, and so the fall colors weren't really getting the good feedback. Like, people say it was nice, but it wasn't popping. It was hard to make the colors really pop enough, at least how I already had it. So we tried going with a green ground, and then it just kind of shifted. It wasn't really working for a fall scene anymore, and so we actually kind of have this more springish summer, just very happy schooly vibes. I do like this little texture I added for the grass. I just show you a little bit there. And so here you see and the sky, I just kept changing and trying different watercolor backgrounds to see what worked, and the rest of the elements are all mine except for the text. And so yeah, so we kind of, here you see where I shaved the ground down, adding the tree, adding the sign, and you know, I like a lot of them, but it just wasn't quite what the author wanted, and we were getting feedback from people. So you'll see we do shift into a more bright poppy green kind of color combination with, and also the title, we kept playing with those colors. So here you see we're getting close, trying and tweaking colors and elements here and there, and then we finally landed on this one. And so that is the final cover. And so inside the book, we're going to have even more little libraries for you to see. So I will be sharing more of the illustration process. So I do hope you will watch the videos, and also look out for the book. It will be coming soon. So thank you.